In the year my marriage looked the most perfect, I asked for a divorce. Gabriel laughed at me. Lisa, don't be like those hopeless romantics who only believe in love but forget how to live. After that, I moved out of the villa, and he froze my cards. He always strikes without lifting a finger, quietly forcing me to submit. But I've been preparing for this divorce for 5 years. Why would I keep a marriage with a man this shallow, vile, and emotionally bankrupt? Chapter 1. The 12th year of my marriage was also my most glamorous. Gabriel had inherited the family conglomerate. Our son Oscar was accepted early into a high school, and the largest charity gala in Jiang City, organized by me, was scheduled for next week. Just today, a flawless 5-carat pink diamond ring had been slipped onto my finger by Gabriel. As a wife, what more could I possibly ask for? With pride in his stride, Gabriel tugged me into a long, possessive kiss. I smiled faintly and gently pushed him away. Gabriel, in good spirits, wasn't angry at my rejection. He let me go and teased. You've been so cold lately. How are we supposed to have another child? I didn't respond. I focused on examining the 10 million yuan diamond ring. Gabriel tossed his jacket into my arms and strode through the dining room toward his study. I said plainly, the ring size is too big. Then, after a brief pause, I added, let's get a divorce. His hand paused on the doorknob. He turned back, sensing something, under his gold-rimmed glasses. His jet-black pupils shimmered under the chandelier. Gabriel asked, half laughing, half confused, what did you say? I calmly repeated, let's get a divorce. His expression twisted into disbelief. Then amusement. So the ring doesn't fit, and now you want a divorce? Come on, don't tell me you want to be one of those women who throw everything away the moment they're tired. Husband, kid, everything. I looked up at him. Reflected in his eyes was me, wearing a cashmere shawl and a champagne silk dress, my curled hair neatly cascading down my back. Obedient, graceful. Asking for a divorce really did make me look unreasonable. Gabriel adjusted his glasses, a mocking smile brushing his lips. Do you want to go back to those days when debt collectors were knocking on your door? His tone remained gentle, even affectionate, but his eyes held the condescension of a man who believed he held the power. Gabriel brushed my hair behind my ear and softly asked, have you forgotten what it felt like being kicked out of the villa? I hadn't. It was that December night wind that ruined my knees. He leaned in by my ear, his voice as cold as a snake hissing. Lisa, without me, you're nothing. Why would you want to suffer again? I lowered my gaze and caught sight of the flirty messages on his phone with his 5th assistant. He noticed, but shamelessly kept the screen lit, petting my hair like stroking a cat. He chuckled. Lisa, don't be like those hopeless romantics who only care about love and forget how to survive. My stomach's upset from the wine. Get me some medicine. With that, he walked into his study. The housekeeper, Monica, quickly headed to the kitchen for the pills. The villa fell into utter silence. But it didn't matter. This wasn't December. In April, Jiang City was in full bloom. Chapter 2. I will never forget that December night when I was kicked out of the villa. It was the 7th year of our marriage. The dazzling night view of Jiang City spread out before me, and I stood barefoot in front of the villa, my thin sweater filled with the cold night wind. Shivering uncontrollably, the cold permanently damaged my legs. Yet I still spinelessly remained Mrs. Gabriel for another 5 years. Because I had nothing, I was the infamous Cinderella of Jiang City, a gambling father, a weak mother, a freeloading brother. She clawed her way up and married Gabriel. This was how the gossip columns described me 12 years ago. Everyone assumed that in this marriage, I was in it for money, always humbly dancing to Gabriel's tune. But the wealthy are stingier than most people think. All these years, I only had his secondary credit card, living off properties under his family's name. Even this 10 million yuan pink diamond ring doesn't legally belong to me. The night I was kicked out of the villa, I didn't even have a car I could drive away. So, of course, Gabriel thought me asking for a divorce was just throwing a tantrum. But I've been preparing for this divorce for 5 years. The next morning, Gabriel acted as if nothing had happened, leaving early. As I pushed my suitcase through the dining room, I lifted the table runner with a slow sweep of my arm. Bang! The crash of porcelain and crystal shattered through the vast villa like sharp thunder. Gabriel's favorite bone china and crystal set lay scattered on the ground, just like our marriage. I lightly picked up a table knife and, passing by the sofa, dragged it across the fabric. We used to love each other here, on this very sofa. Gabriel loved my restrained gasps, my silent tears, and my helpless pleas for mercy. Who he enjoys now, I don't know. Oscar came downstairs with his school bag. His handsome young face carried a maturity far beyond his age. In a crisp voice, he said, "Bye, Mom." His small, warm hand squeezed mine, and without looking back, he walked out to school. I took several deep breaths. When I stepped to the door, the yard was full of morning light. The sunlight fell into my eyes, so bright it blurred my vision. A tear quietly slipped down. The divorce agreement was placed on the living room table. In it, I gave up custody of Oscar. We were mother and son once, but now, we would each go our separate ways. Gabriel was right. I won't be like those foolish women. I want money and freedom. I want a life of my own. Chapter 3. Monica helped me carry my luggage to Camila's Riverside apartment. She looked regretful. After all these years, you're leaving with just this? I gave her a light smile. What doesn't belong to me will only be divided later. Gabriel's mother strictly managed all high-end jewelry and couture items. Anything worth over 100,000 yuan was registered under her company's name. I suppose she's a woman who knows the game well, an expert at grinding down a powerless wife. Outside the apartment's floor-to-ceiling windows, the round sunset hung over the river, its light shimmering like scattered gold. For the first time, I felt a little lighter, a little freer. Then Gabriel's messages appeared on my phone. Really moved out? Why cause drama when everything is at its best? Do you know what leaving means? His plain words hinted at anger. Moments later, I received notifications that my credit card and savings card had been frozen. Gabriel, it means without me, you have nothing. I let out a small laugh. Exactly as expected. All these years, Gabriel has always been a gentleman on the surface, but ruthless when needed. Just like that freezing night when he kicked me out of the villa. He always wins without lifting a weapon, expecting me to bow down. Too bad for him, he'll be disappointed. I have plenty of money now. Freezing my cards means nothing to me. Chapter 4. Everyone thought I married Gabriel for money. The irony is, I actually loved him. I met Gabriel when we were both reaching for the last 10 yuan lunchbox. Back then, his company was on the verge of bankruptcy. He was a fallen phoenix. He was the most elegant man I'd ever seen in a white shirt. I gave him 3 lunchboxes, and a torn, leaky umbrella. And when I couldn't work anymore because my dad's debt collectors were hounding me, he was the one who saved me, helped me hide, move from place to place. A bankrupt pretty boy, a broke girl drained by her family, 2 drenched souls, left with no choice but to cling to each other for warmth. Maybe, back then, there was a little love between us. Later, his company made a miraculous comeback. And then, I got pregnant, unexpectedly. I went to see him, ready to ask for a parting sum of money and walk away. But he said he wanted to marry me. Before that, I'd stayed calm and detached throughout our relationship, always able to pull away if I needed to. That moment, I fell. My life had always been a string of bad luck and despair. Even my parents were forces dragging me down. But Gabriel, who had everything, didn't abandon me. I almost believed in God. I saw him as the shining, unshakable star in my dark and hopeless sky. But reality proved one thing. When you treat a man like a god, your faith will eventually crumble. Chapter 5. I woke up under the blazing midday sun, surrounded by empty bottles. For so many years, I'd been like a tightly wound machine, never daring to drink myself drunk. I had to get up early to take care of Gabriel and Oscar, and stay up late to handle every little thing for my mother-in-law. But alcohol, it made everything feel lighter. It felt like the mountain in my chest had finally been lifted. After confirming the divorce process with my lawyer, I rushed to Camila's jewelry firm. Before the divorce was officially filed, I had to close one last major deal. Sandra, seeing the 5-carat pink diamond on my hand, gave me a sarcastic smile. Wow, you're usually so plain. The moment your husband becomes chairman, you start flashing something that expensive? Just hearing Gabriel's name made something tighten in my chest. Still, I smiled calmly. Sandra, This pink diamond is nothing compared to what you're about to get. Camila worked hard to source it for you. Sandra's crow's feet stretched with delight as she looked at me, full of anticipation. This pink diamond, I wore it just for today. Sandra loved to compete, though it didn't quite fit me. The ring helped me close the deal. I pushed the jewelry box Camila had prepared in front of her and said, 5 carat, unheated Burmese pigeon blood ruby, SSEF certified. With every word, the sparkle in Sandra's eyes grew brighter. I delivered the final blow. Top tier, for next month's Jiang City Charity Gala. You'll be the center of attention. Sandra signed without hesitation. That gala is the grandest event of the year in Jiang City's elite circle. Every socialite lives for that one night. After Sandra left, Camila gave me a thumbs up. Damn, that was slick. You held back and didn't even mention the divorce. I laughed. Why mess with money? I've spent 10 years in the elite wife circles of Jiang City. From being looked down on, to getting familiar, to being respected, the effort I've put in. Only I know. Reaping benefits from them is more than fair. Camila swiftly transferred my 3 million yuan commission. The moment the transaction hit, Gabriel's message popped up too. Lisa, come back if you know you were wrong. Bank account received, 3,000,000 yuan. I frowned and let out a mocking laugh. Gabriel, as always, put on his superior act. Now he looked like a ridiculous clown. But if I could earn a place in Jiang City's elite circles, did he really think I hadn't paved myself a way out? Chapter 6. My love for him was worn down in the 7th year of our marriage. Before that, I accepted everything with silent gratitude. I signed the harsh postnuptial agreement, moved into his home without a wedding, gave birth to Oscar, and quietly, attentively cared for them. Gabriel, aside from occasionally correcting my improper behavior, always treated me with indifference, and because I didn't know the rules, I embarrassed myself more than once in public, drawing others' disapproval. From then on, Gabriel looked at me with judgment in his eyes. By marrying me, he'd lost a valuable alliance. His career stalled, and people laughed at him for it. It felt like an invisible wall had risen between us. I lived in shame and self-doubt for a long time, but I'm a simple person at heart. I naively thought, if I could just fit in with Jiang City's elite wives, if I could become one of them, maybe I could tear down that wall. So I swallowed my pride and begged my mother-in-law to help me integrate into high society. I studied non-stop, earned new qualifications. I was on call 24/7, even answering my mother-in-law's late-night demands at dawn. I fiercely helped Sandra catch her husband's mistress, just to earn an invitation to an exclusive afternoon tea hosted by the elite circle. To prepare for the charity gala, I joined golf rounds with society ladies, serving as a caddy for 30 days straight. Those years, I bent over backward, worked harder than anyone, and bowed lower than everyone. Gabriel would sometimes frown in confusion. With your background, why are you trying so hard to fit in? I smiled and said, because I want to help you. He gave a soft laugh. It wasn't until much later that I realized he had laughed with contempt. In our 7th year of marriage, I was finally accepted by Jiang City's high society. At the elite tea club, I had a seat right beside the old matriarch. I could host socialites with ease, pitch business introductions with charm, and win deals over cards with practiced grace. And yet Gabriel still tossed his coat at me when he got home. His secretaries changed faces, but were always young, pretty, and stubborn. When I brought in a deal worth over 100 million yuan, Gabriel's gold-rimmed glasses glinted as he sneered. Do you really think we got that deal just because you sweet-talked them a little? Don't overestimate yourself. It's because of the company's name, because you're backed by the old lady. His eyes were full of annoyance and disdain. Why are you becoming like them? So slick, so fake, so calculating. Do you even realize how disgusting that is? What happened to your old self? I stood beside him, calmly lowering my gaze. 7 years of effort, and the wall was still there. Chapter 7. Later, I reassigned Gabriel's new secretary. That same night, he kicked me out of the villa. It was deep winter in December. I stood barefoot on the hillside steps of the villa in Jiangbing Mountain, wearing only a thin sweater and silk dress. Jiang City winters are harsh, the wind howled loud and wild. It seeped through every inch of me, cold as my heart. Streetlights scattered down the winding mountain road like distant stars. Jiangbing Mountain, the rich man's zone, was desolate and empty. No cars. My phone was still inside the house. I stood there, helpless. The wind numbed my face. My whole body shivered like a leaf. Each breath stabbed into my lungs like ice. And when I turned around, I could see the glowing nightscape of the entire city below. The dazzling skyline, so full of light and life, stood in sharp contrast to my freezing, trembling body. It was the cruelest divide. The glamorous life had always been an illusion. I was just an ant. At some point, tears began to fall. Much later, Gabriel opened the door. He was wrapped in a warm cashmere sweater, hair still damp, exuding the lazy comfort of someone fresh from a hot shower. I looked even more pitiful curled up by the wall. Gabriel's eyes flickered with a trace of satisfaction. His voice was polite, gentle. "Lisa, if you behave, you can keep enjoying a good life." So all those soft-spoken persuasions from him were just elegant commands. Maybe he didn't even like that secretary I reassigned, but he couldn't stand me defying his authority. Every deal I secured for him was thanks to his family name. I didn't have a bank account under my name. Every penny I spent was on his secondary card. I owned nothing. I was never respected. He just wanted control. I wanted to laugh. But my face was so frozen it couldn't move. He didn't love me. He looked down on me. Then why marry me? Why give me hope? Hadn't I done enough all these years? Gabriel turned and walked away slowly. I heard every soft clack of his teeth and tongue in that moment of silence. My joints ached from the cold. My stomach throbbed in pain. I didn't resist. Step by step, I dragged my numb legs and followed him inside. He nodded in satisfaction. I gave a faint smile. He patted my head like offering charity. He thought I'd been tamed, but I had simply let go. I had seen clearly that behind Gabriel's wall, there was nothing. He was just a shallow, cruel, emotionless man wrapped in an attractive shell. My God had fallen. But it's okay. I took the risk, and I'll accept the loss. Chapter 8. In the days after Gabriel froze my cards, he sent me a bunch of messages, but his tone was still that of a god descending to earth, condescending and smug. "Just admit your mistake and come back. You'll still be a wealthy wife." When I didn't respond, he started sending random, pointless questions. What should I wear for tomorrow's board meeting? Where's my sapphire tie pin? What happened to the gift we prepared before? My stomach hurts. Lisa, I've given you so many chances. Be smart and take the olive branch. I replied, I don't know about any of that. Monica and the housekeeper manage your daily affairs now. After the night he kicked me out, I turned over all his routines to the staff. I would no longer play the free maid. I was done with performing emotional labor for him. That night, Monica took me to the hospital. My legs had an old injury, and this time, the cold made it worse. When I woke up in the hospital, Gabriel had texted me, "Stop acting pitiful. Prep for the family dinner the day after tomorrow." Back home, I carried on as usual. Just because Gabriel's a jerk doesn't mean I should go back to the days of being chased by debt collectors. Living well comes first. Those cold meals and warmed wine he thought I made with care, Monica prepared them. The antacids and gifts he assumed were arranged by me, all handled by the housekeeper. His wardrobe, updated regularly, courtesy of the stylist. He lived in a fantasy where he still had me under control. Meanwhile, I navigated the elite wife circle with ease. But this time, not for him, for me. Step by step, using my mother-in-law's connections in the legal world, I found an opening and bought into Camila's jewelry studio. Quietly, I brought in high-end clients, sourced luxury gems through charity auctions. Once the studio's reputation and network were stable, I helped launch a jewelry factory. After years of seeing zero balance, my bank account finally showed a number that made me proud. Now, I had enough to no longer tolerate Gabriel. I was halfway up a rock wall when my mother-in-law called. She was probably getting her nails done or being massaged by a fitness coach somewhere. Hearing me pant lightly, she sounded both pleased and commanding. "Lisa, I heard Gabriel froze your cards. Tough out there, huh?" Chapter 9. Not to be rude, but girls from your kind of background always get caught up in silly romances. What kind of wife files for divorce right when her husband's career is rising and her son's doing great in school? I laughed. "So there's a proper time for divorce now?" Her voice immediately turned sharp. All your efforts wasted, aren't you bitter? I stared up at the sky, toes clinging to tiny footholds, body half hanging off a cliff. I let out a dry laugh. Ha, she's not wrong, I did give a lot. But I wonder if she knows what sunk cost fallacy is. She rambled on. A girl crawling out of a rat hole like you should be grateful we gave you the good life. You dare ask for more in divorce? If you go through with it, I'll make sure you don't get a cent. I calmly pressed my earbud and ended the call. I didn't defend myself, didn't explain, didn't try to change anyone's mind. I slowly spread one arm wide. Beneath me, a deadly cliff. But I was an eagle, relaxed, experienced, ready to take flight. The next day, my lawyer sent me a police record of my mother-in-law's suspected solicitation charge. I was no naive Cinderella. I wasn't kind. That night, a furious Gabriel made threats. Then his mother's secretary texted, I was no longer needed for the family banquet. 6 months of prep, gone just like that. Then, the messages flooded in. Sandra, you're divorcing Gabriel? Girl, don't be impulsive. Every woman in the city wants him. His mother, I really liked you. That's why I want you to think this through. Camila, Gabriel's quietly telling people about the divorce. And he's got a new hot secretary. Zoe, finally leaving. You never deserved Gabriel anyway. Freezing my cards was step 1. Sabotaging my so-called career was step 2. In Gabriel's eyes, all I ever did was butter up rich wives and plan some charity dinners. He thought I'd beg him in fear. But Gabriel was wrong. I no longer cared about anything in Jiang City. What regret could I possibly have? My past obedience was out of love. My later indifference was because I was already saying goodbye, watching the sunrise and sunset through my window. I drank all my favorite dessert wines. Finished the documents for my master's application in art history at Port City. I couldn't afford a degree before. Later, I studied for an MBA for Gabriel. And after that, he said it wasn't necessary. Now, I can study what I love. When I hit submit, the version of Lisa who once cowered began to unfurl. Then came a message from my accountant. My offshore account now had a full 20 million yuan in cash. May in Jiang City. The weather was perfect. Chapter 10. Rumors of our divorce spread like a punch thrown into cotton, loud, but landing on nothing. The always mature, refined Gabriel became volatile in my texts. At first, he reminisced about where we first met. Jiangbei village is being demolished. I already bought the land where we used to rent that little house. Why bring up somewhere from 12 years ago? What was I to him during the 11 years of our marriage? As I kept ignoring him, he changed again, into a clown. What makes you think you deserve 3 properties in a divorce? Lisa, you'd better bow your head and admit you're wrong. Because of the strict prenup, I wouldn't get much anyway. But in Gabriel's eyes, I wasn't even worth 3 apartments. How cheap was I to him? A bitter, salty taste filled my mouth. I let out a long breath, then curled my lips into a bitter smile. My lawyer called frequently. Gabriel's side kept delaying, and they advised I could sue for divorce. But I didn't want unnecessary mess. I just wanted to take the money and go. So I called Gabriel. You've been tangled with Zoe for 2 years. Don't you think Mario deserves to know? Can't we end this peacefully? Zoe was his first love and Mario's current wife. Gabriel chuckled. So that's what this is about? Ha, he still thought everything revolved around him. Relax. I didn't go crawling back to Zoe. She got some shares from Mario. That ring, I cut him off. I don't care what you're planning. I just want the divorce finalized. He let out a low laugh on the other end. You're so spirited again, Lisa, just like when we first met. When you've lived in the gutters, people expect you to turn into a shrew. Back then, his parents were hiding overseas, and Gabriel was stuck in a slum. When the landlord bullied him, I was the one arguing for our rights, while he just stood behind me and laughed softly. His laugh was so refined, so attractive. I couldn't bear to scold him. When he was chased by debt collectors, I even helped him escape, ended up hurting my leg. That old injury was what made me freeze so badly in the cold later. He cried as he carried me for 5 kilometers to the hospital, throwing up from exhaustion when we got there. After vomiting, he still wandered the ER looking for a doctor like a lost child. Turns out, we really loved each other once. But now, my heart was cold. I hung up. A moment later, Gabriel texted like some magnanimous benefactor. Lisa, I forgive your tantrum. Wear the ring to tomorrow night's banquet. And the dress too. Chapter 11. His secretary delivered a white mermaid gown, covered in pearls and encrusted with crystals. It was a new season piece from House C, just released on the runway yesterday. Gabriel must have pulled a lot of strings to get it delivered on time. The sunlight fell like glitter over the luxurious dress. Stunning, dazzling. Even the most sophisticated society matron would be touched by its splendor. I let out a shaking laugh, lips twitching between a smirk and a sneer. Gabriel knew his tactics well. After belittling me, now he offers me a sweet candy. Funny, this tiny scrap of care I used to beg for, he offered now, when I no longer wanted it. We met at the Mountain Villa gate. Gabriel, as always, looked immaculate, hair slicked perfectly back, gold-rimmed glasses resting just right on his sharp nose, his tailored suit fastened with emerald cufflinks. When he saw me, his eyes flickered, surprise, then awe. The strapless gown I wore revealed the healthy bronze tone and faint muscle I'd built from climbing. My high ponytail was clean and sharp, radiant, alive. Gabriel always liked women who grew wild. Each of his 6 secretaries had that same raw edge. But when he realized I wasn't wearing the dress he'd sent, his face immediately darkened. Instead, I wore a black gown, inlaid with subtle black crystals. Gabriel's eyes gleamed with coldness before he forced on a smile. Then, in his ever-condescending tone, he said, "You're not like those other wives. That's why I'll forgive you, this time." With that, he led me inside. The ballroom was opulent, filled with waltzing strings. Just as we entered, Sandra stood surrounded by ladies, gushing about her pigeon blood ruby. People turned to look at us, me and Gabriel. Most wore expressions of barely concealed delight, eager for drama. Gabriel smiled warmly, glanced at me from the corner of his eye. He was saying, without me, "You're nothing." Then, with practiced intimacy, he slid his arm around me and began making rounds to greet the guests. The crowd's judgmental look softened, turned polite and friendly. Gabriel leaned in, hissed sweetly in my ear, "See? Without me, you have nothing." I lowered my eyes, expression unreadable. I didn't care. A world that was never mine. I didn't need it. Just then, Zoe arrived, graceful and poised. Chapter 12. She was Gabriel's first love, the one who abandoned him twice. The first time was when his family was on the brink of bankruptcy, and I was the one sharing lunchboxes with him. The second time was when Gabriel offered her marriage again, and she chose Mario instead. Wealthier and already twice married. Honestly, if she weren't acting so foolish now, I might have even respected her. The moment she glanced at the pink diamond on my hand, her face changed. She turned sharply to Gabriel. I'm guessing she was the ring's original owner. Gabriel was so indifferent to me that he shamelessly gave me a ring engraved for another woman. So the day I received it, I filed for divorce. I'd had enough of his insults. I wasn't going to tolerate them anymore. Zoe sneered. A diamond like that, paired with that dress? No taste at all. To me, this diamond was nothing more than a string of numbers to return to Gabriel. Wearing it today was purely for Sandra's sake. As a good salesperson, post-sales service must be on point. Zoe continued, basking in her moment. You dropped out too suddenly. I've been running all over prepping this gala for a month. I looked at her calmly. I couldn't understand it. She used to be so goal-driven. How did she end up entangled with Gabriel again? I turned away slowly and sipped my wine. All the wines at tonight's gala were from vineyards I had handpicked 6 months ago. Every bottle chosen with care. I was drinking with genuine joy. Thanks to my planning, the gala was hitting one high point after another. Zoe soaked in the long-lost spotlight. After enjoying the wine, I made my way backstage with practiced ease. Then the lights dimmed. On the giant screen in the ballroom, photos played in a loop, images of a man opening a hotel room door for Zoe. Her husband is 12 years her senior, the whole rich older man. Pretty young wife setup was already tabloid bait. But the man in the photos? Tall, slim, not the portly figure of Mario. The crowd exploded like water dropped into hot oil. Backstage descended into chaos. People were running everywhere, fumbling and panicking. Through the crowd, I saw Zoe rushing in, her once beautiful face now twisted with rage. She screamed, "It was you! You're just jealous that Gabriel is leaving you. She lunged at me, but smack, a crisp slap rang out. Chapter 13. Her fair cheek turned bright red on the spot. There stood the old matriarch, calm and composed, her jade bangle glowing softly on her wrist. It was hard to believe that such a well-mannered woman had just thrown that slap. Zoe instantly went silent, like a chick caught chirping in the wrong place. The old lady looked at me and sighed. You've always been steady and restrained. Why lose control now? How do you expect to survive in Jiang City after this? I gave a big, carefree laugh. Survive here? I'm leaving Jiang City. The matriarch's deep-set eyes widened slightly, then she chuckled. She realized I was done playing their game. I shrugged and walked out of the venue, calm and confident. I'd blown up their family's dirty laundry. Their downfall was just beginning. Just as I left the banquet hall, Gabriel's mother stormed over, fuming, Himalaya bag in hand, ready to smash it at me. I sidestepped effortlessly. She staggered and slammed into the wall. That disheveled posture? Nothing like the elegance she always preached. She stared at me, stunned, and yelled, "Lisa, what kind of madness is this?" Her sharp red nails jabbed at my face. Did you forget? We gave you over 10 years of a good life. You leave now. You leave with nothing. I let out a cold laugh. I lived well because I was capable, diligent, and well-mannered. If I had failed even one of those things, you would have kicked me out years ago. Don't pretend generosity when all you gave was exploitation. With that, I pulled a thick stack of photos from my bag and placed it in her hand. Her rage crumbled in an instant, replaced by panic. Chapter 14. The photos showed her entering and leaving the police station with a fitness coach, along with a suspected solicitation record. In their circle, scandals are tolerated as long as they don't become public. But now that I had these in hand, her so-called dignity, the word she'd clung to her whole life, was about to collapse. I looked down on her like a generous benefactor and said, "Were you terrified when you were at the police station? Why didn't you answer my calls or the lawyers?" I smiled gently, squinting slightly. "You forgot that I was the one who hired that lawyer for you." As I became more capable, she began to delegate even her personal matters to me. She got too comfortable, forgot to be cautious. It was also me who reported suspicious activities at the hotel she visited every Wednesday. In her shocked eyes, I saw my own calm reflection. "You once owned a painting under your A Islands offshore account," I said, voice soft like Gabriel's, threatening, yet sweet. "I really like it. Why not gift it to me as a parting token for the divorce? It's just 5 million, Auntie. Surely that's a small price for peace of mind, right?" Her well-maintained face cracked, just a little. I shrugged indifferently. Under her resentful stare, I took off the painful Jimmy Choo heels and walked away barefoot. Standing at the steps outside the mountain villa, the moon tonight was unusually bright, perfectly round. The dark evening gown I wore sparkled with embedded crystals under the moonlight. It was the first dress Gabriel ever gave me, for our first formal event together. Back then, I followed timidly behind him. He patted my hand gently and comforted me. "You look so beautiful in this dress. No one will care if you don't fit in." Tonight, he didn't even recognize it. This would be my last appearance in Jiang City. Fitting, in a way, a full circle. The mountain wind blew gently through the night. I stretched my arms wide, took a deep breath. Going crazy had been the right choice. The timid version of me finally opened, fluttering in the breeze. I had just taken a few steps when the world spun. I turned and saw Gabriel, brows tightly furrowed. Chapter 15. His expression was stern as he stared at me. "Lisa, I've tolerated you for over a month." I let out a cold laugh and said nothing. "I bought you the pink diamond you always wanted, ordered your favorite dress, brought you here. Why are you still acting like this?" I just looked at him silently. Gabriel, so used to being in control, was finally unraveling, frustrated and impatient. He grabbed my hand and stared at the ring. "You think this good life you have came from where?" I gave a faint smile. Slowly, I removed the ring and placed it in the pocket of his suit. No hesitation, no sentiment. His brows tightened. "What's that supposed to mean, Gabriel? Do you think I'm that worthless? A ring engraved with another woman's name, and I'm supposed to be grateful? You disgust me." As I turned to leave, he yanked me back. one arm wrapped around my waist, the other behind my neck. He leaned in to kiss me. Smack! I slapped him hard across the face. Gabriel stared at me, stunned. I said, word by word, yes, I'm Lisa, poorly born, crazy. Then, close to his ear, I whispered with a smile, if you refuse to divorce, I can release the photos of you and Zoe together. His handsome face was red with the mark of my slap, panic flickering in his eyes. Nothing happened between me and Zoe. I raised a finger, signaling him to hush. Shoo, doesn't matter. Once it's public, both families are finished. Wasn't there a real estate project you were about to co-invest in? I snapped my fingers playfully and smiled with mock sweetness. Poof. Billions, gone. The pale yellow moon hung low over Jiangping Mountain. The light was soft like gauze. Gabriel's face turned ashen, but deep in his dark eyes, there flickered a glint of wild joy. Chapter 16. When I helped Sandra catch her husband's mistress, she was so impulsive that she ended up being scolded by him for hours. Sandra had stood by him from nothing, but they quarreled like cats and dogs. And yet, when he said, I'm freezing your cards, Sandra instantly shut up. At that time, I still loved Gabriel, but something compelled me to make preparations. First, I opened an offshore account that no one knew about. Second, every year, I secretly gave bonuses to certain bodyguards to act as my eyes and ears. I knew that Gabriel and Zoe didn't actually cross any lines that night, but we were already over. Whether they had or not, it was over. Might as well make use of it. I walked barefoot along the smooth, clean asphalt of Jiangping Mountain. Each step felt like a kiss between my feet and the earth. Finally, I was saying goodbye to this wretched place. A sharp engine roar echoed, and a gray Panamera stopped in front of me. Leonardo, all curls and mischief, grinned. Sis, you did amazing tonight. Zoe's finally getting kicked out by my dad. Leonardo was Mario's son from his first marriage. Zoe was his stepmother. I helped him ruin Zoe's attempt to fight for a slice of the inheritance. He gave me a property in Harbor City. Fair trade. Leonardo's light brown deer-like eyes sparkled with glee. His lips curled, revealing playful canines. Sis, want me to rescue you from your boring life? I glanced at him and sneered calmly. You haven't figured out your own life yet. Leonardo chuckled, then widened his eyes in surprise. I had gotten into his car. Didn't you say you didn't need rescuing? I gave him a deadpan look. Doesn't mean I can't use a free ride. If I walked, I wouldn't get there before dawn. Why make life harder than it already is? He laughed aloud. As the engine roared, we passed by the white European-style mansion. I caught sight of the Lisa from 5 years ago, curled in a corner, red-eyed and bleeding, staring at me helplessly. I couldn't help but scoff at myself, turned to Leonardo, and said, your family's yearly big contract with Gabriel's company, cut it. There's nothing in it for you. Leonardo lowered his eyes and nodded. For him, it was a perfect chance to find a new partner. Along Jiangping Mountain's winding roads, the streetlights flickered like stars, lighting up the road I had once taken. Chapter 17. Soon after, I received the transfer agreement for the painting. Gabriel's mother probably thought paying $5 million for peace of mind was worth it. She didn't even bother with tricks. Yes, $5 million could buy her peace, but apparently, I wasn't even worth a custom dress worth 10 grand. Lately, Jiangqing was abuzz with gossip about Zoe's divorce. She wanted a share of Mario's fortune, and things were turning ugly. A few days later, I brought my lawyer to Gabriel's house. Gabriel had changed his style. He wore a casual linen shirt and shorts, the chest embroidered with subtle white letters, YN. They were the honeymoon couple outfits we'd ordered. I still had the matching dress. The only sweet memories of our marriage existed when I was pregnant. He'd kiss me tenderly, touch my belly lovingly. I used to snuggle up to him. The linen fabric, coarse with a sunny scent, was strangely comforting. But then the company ran into trouble, and the collapse of our alliance became more evident. He grew cold, distant, full of silent hostility. Today, I wore only a plain white tee. Gabriel looked at me like a client file, calm and professional. Fitting, I had become just another item on his agenda. He smiled faintly, fine lines at the corners of his eyes giving him a refined patience I'd never seen before. Lisa, if you want those 3 houses, I'd give them to you even without the divorce. Without the divorce, would they even be mine? Or would he say again that without him, I was nothing? He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and looked at me gently, his voice low and soft, just like 13 years ago, in our shabby rental, when he told me about his adventure in Antarctica. That voice gave me healing, calm, and hope. Lisa, those secretaries. I kept them around because they reminded me of who you used to be. I met Zoe that day just to get the ring. I remembered how you stared at her during your first charity gala 11 years ago. I searched for years. That ring was still the perfect one. Back then, I just wanted to see what kind of woman could reject Gabriel twice. So the ring was a misunderstanding. 5 years ago, maybe I'd have been touched. But now, nothing, no emotion, nowhere left to fall. I said calmly, Gabriel, when you pulled me from the mud and married me, I loved you with all my heart. His eyes flickered at the words with all my heart. He looked pleased, so typical. He had always thrived on my love, certain it would never run dry. But love runs out. I don't love you anymore. To me, you're just shallow, arrogant, erratic, and unworthy. Gabriel stiffened as if something invisible had bound him in place. Chapter 18. Gabriel finally signed the divorce agreement. I looked outside. Fields of white roses were blooming wildly under the blazing sun, like fireworks in broad daylight. In that moment, the weight lifted from my shoulders, and the stars seemed to reappear before me. My eyes stung with emotion, and I couldn't help but smile broadly. Then his mother's shrill scream pierced the air. You bitch. You got your money, now get out. Her face was twisted like a demon's as she stormed toward me, grabbed my collar, and raised her hand to slap me. Gabriel quickly stepped between us. Just then, Oscar called out from the doorway, Grandma? That brought her back to her senses. She valued her eldest grandson, especially one as outstanding as Oscar. Oscar stepped forward and gently took her hand, giving me a calm glance. Grandma, she didn't even fight for custody. There's no need to get upset. I have a piano performance at school tomorrow. Come see how I've been practicing. He led her out of the study slowly. Before they disappeared from sight, he and I exchanged a brief, knowing glance. Even Gabriel seemed uneasy. He said apologetically, I'm sorry about my mom and Oscar. I told him to call you, but he refused. I shook my head. I wasn't surprised. When Gabriel walked me out, he kept his head lowered the entire time, eyes glued to me. He reached out to touch my cheek, but the roughness of his fingertips made me instinctively pull away. He dropped his gaze, disappointed. Then his eyes drifted into the past, softening with rare tenderness. The other day, I remembered the 20 yuan lunchbox you once bought me. It had so much meat. It was delicious. Back then, only you helped me. All my friends had abandoned me. I let out a mocking chuckle. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a dappled glow on his hair. The maturity Gabriel wore like armor faded under the light, revealing the same fear and helplessness he had when he was broke. He murmured, Lisa, you were the only one who never gave up on me. That's why I married you. Despite all the opposition, I replied with a smile. Wasn't it because Zoe dumped you for the second time, and you were just clinging to me like a drowning man to driftwood? His throat tightened. But I really did fall in love with you. So you belittled me? Controlled me? Looked down on me? Gabriel's eyes turned red. I just couldn't accept you becoming like the others. I wanted you to always pay attention to me, always be tormented and obsessed with me, always show me how much you loved me. I scoffed. So you wanted me to be dignified and helpful, yet still naive and stubborn like back in the slums? Gabriel, how pathetic. You're incapable of love. Because of his emotional impotence, his arrogance, he tortured me for years. Gabriel asked softly, almost begging, Lisa, if this divorce gave you what you wanted, could we try again? He still didn't understand. He thought the settlement was some kind of gift to win me back. He anxiously grabbed my hand. Lisa, let's have another child, okay? Things were good when Oscar was born. Trust me. I laughed at him. I already gave you a chance. That child you keep talking about? I lost it 5 years ago, the night you kicked me out of the villa. His face turned ghostly pale. His lips trembled. I smiled brightly, with relief and clarity. You killed your own child. Gabriel. Chapter 19. Relationships between people don't shatter in a single blow. They collapse under the weight of accumulated sins. 5 years ago, on the day I caught Gabriel flirting with his new secretary, it was Oscar's 6th birthday. Oscar was already old enough to admire his father, who frequently appeared in financial magazines. He pleaded with me, sincerely, to let his dad come celebrate his birthday. The night before, I reminded Gabriel when he came home late. Oscar's birthday is tomorrow. He just nodded absent-mindedly and walked past me into the bedroom. At that time, I was secretly holding a pregnancy test. I was thinking, if tomorrow the hospital confirms it, I'd bring the ultrasound to Oscar's party and announce it. Just imagining it made me smile with happiness and hope. I naively hypnotized myself. Even if Gabriel was cold and critical, even if he never truly saw me, maybe this child would be a new beginning. On his birthday, Oscar sat in front of a lavish birthday cake, eyes full of anticipation, staring at the door, waiting for Gabriel. He even nervously asked me what kind of gift his dad might bring him. We waited from noon until nightfall. Monica cleared the cold lunch, and the cream on the cake had already collapsed. Oscar didn't cry or throw a tantrum. He just disappeared into the bathroom for a long time. I quietly pushed open the door. I saw his small shoulders trembling. Tears streamed silently down his face and splashed onto the floor. His lower lip was tightly bitten, trying not to make a sound. The effort of holding back his sobs made his face flush red. When he saw me, he quickly wiped his face and forced a smile, his voice still shaking. I know Dad's busy. My heart was brutally pierced, bleeding and raw. I went to Gabriel's office to find him, in his floor-to-ceiling windowed office lit by neon lights. The new secretary, young and plainly dressed, looked both nervous and proud, her face blushing from Gabriel's teasing. Gabriel raised an eyebrow at me, silently telling me to leave. The next day, I reassigned that secretary, and Gabriel threw me out of the villa. That winter night, I stood outside for 2 hours. Not only did I feel despair, I felt a hot stream twisting down my belly like a snake. When Gabriel opened the door, he didn't even notice the blood on my skirt. That night, Monica took me to the hospital. Chapter 20. When he heard this, Gabriel's expression was one of disbelief. I handed him the ultrasound photo I had carried with me for 5 years. Gabriel stared at it for a long time. Suddenly, 2 tears rolled down his face. His breathing grew shallow, lips pressed tight like a sharp blade stabbing into his chest. I didn't know if he was grieving for the child he lost, or if he finally sensed the depth of my hatred. All I knew was that I felt a rush of release, yet also as if an invisible hand was clutching my chest, choking the air from me, letting the pain and suffocation roam freely in my body. I stared quietly at Gabriel. His broad shoulders trembled slightly. He was crying. He was broken. I relaxed my brows and smiled softly, completely emptied of emotion. As I turned to get into the car, I saw Oscar. He stood at a distance in his British-style school uniform from Academy A, looking at me, unwilling to part. He is the person I love most in this world. Our parting was a quiet understanding between mother and son. 5 years ago, after I recovered, I took Oscar traveling around the world, top schools, elite events. I worked tirelessly to win over his grandmother, gain recognition from the family, and secure his future. Life is vast. Even without proper fatherly love, Oscar would be fine. He deserved the whole world. On his 11th birthday, Gabriel still didn't show up. Oscar's calm and youthful face mirrored Gabriel's, full of ambition. Staring at the candle, he made a wish in a clear voice. I want to inherit Dad's company. I smiled and replied, of course you will. He looked into my eyes and said, Mom, if you want to leave, you can. I'm big enough now. If I miss you, I'll come find you. Then he grabbed my hand, looked at the calluses in my palm, and smiled brightly. You're amazing at rock climbing now. In the late autumn evening, the restaurant was bathed in golden light. Oscar's fair face glowed like an angel's. He was my angel, the one who loved me in this world. I stood there frozen for a long time, then burst into sobs. I had done everything a mother should. Now, he would march into his own future. That's why, when I received that pink diamond ring engraved with Zoe's name, I asked for a divorce. I had made all the preparations. There was nothing left to hold me back. Chapter 21. Because of my disgrace in Jiangqing, I soon moved to Port City. Leonardo's seaside villa was the one he gave me. It showed his sincerity. At sunrise and sunset, I would sit on the terrace and watch the ocean. Many things faded away on the horizon with the golden waves in the distance. But Gabriel started sending messages again. He asked about the weather, my health, my current situation. I didn't reply. He began sharing moments from our 13 years together. Stories about Oscar's daily life. Gabriel was trying to hold on to me. I changed my number and only kept in touch with Oscar. Oscar, though quiet, was still that little boy who longed for love. When he missed me in the middle of the night, he would say, "Mom, when I grow up, I'll stay by your side all the time." That was enough to fill my heart. I returned to a simpler life and began my fall semester, seriously studying. A year passed quickly. I learned many things. Spent 3 months on exchange in the UK. Had 2 short relationships. Happily busily moving forward. Until one day, passing by a dusty construction site, I suddenly realized, when stripped of the obsession and pain of that marriage, I should thank Gabriel. He did lift me up. I was no longer that Lisa who feared calls from debt collectors and calculated every penny just to get by. But I didn't forgive him. When I received my 1 million yuan dividend from the company, I finally got in touch with Camila. We talked all night. Camila exclaimed, "Hey, you won't believe it. Gabriel's turned over a new leaf. He comes to me every couple of days just trying to get a hold of you. Where on earth are you hiding? He can't find you at all." My house was still under Leonardo's name. Of course Gabriel couldn't find me. Camila continued excitedly. "He's acting like some love-struck fool, waiting outside my place every day." I couldn't take it anymore. So I told him, "You already have a second boyfriend." You know, Gabriel, always calm and elegant, but when he heard that, he just squatted down and burst into tears. Scared the hell out of me. That hidden pain in my heart flared briefly and disappeared. I spoke in my usual tone. "I think Port City would be a good place to open an auction house. I'll go back to Jiangqing soon to discuss it." Chapter 22. The night before my departure. My ex and I spent the whole night talking about art. Early the next morning, he took me to the airport. He said with a smile, "Lisa, if fate allows, we'll meet again." I kissed his cheek with a smile, then turned and walked decisively through the gate. I don't expect anyone to come save me. Nor do I hope to move anyone with love. I love myself enough, so love will never be my cage. Every encounter, every love, it's enough just to experience it fully. Jiangqing felt both changed and unchanged. When I ran into Gabriel, he looked haggard and thin. I'd heard his company had gone downhill after losing Mario's partnership. Gabriel gazed at me for a long time, then smiled like someone who just found a lost treasure. "Thank goodness you're back," he said. His rough, broad hand gripped mine tightly, his voice hoarse and low. "No one prepares stomach medicine for me anymore. No one leaves a warm meal or a light on. No one lays out clothes or gifts for me anymore." He kept listing all the little things I used to do. I looked at him, helpless and amused. After the divorce, I had generously compensated the housekeeper and Monica, arranging for them to work at Mario's house. I also passed my stylist to Sandra. I just wanted Gabriel to understand. Ignoring people, even housekeepers and maids, is wrong. And without that thoughtful care, what does life really feel like? I laughed at him. "Gabriel, why are you whining to me? It's been a whole year, you've had plenty of time to train a new housekeeper and maid." He froze, stammering, "It's not the same. You loved me, you cared. That's different from servants." I glanced at him sideways, smiling lightly. "Didn't you know? Starting from our 7th year of marriage, all your meals and needs were handled by the staff. At most, I just passed along your requests." His expression shattered in an instant. His face turned pale. I checked the time. It was time for my meeting with Camila. I turned to leave. Gabriel grabbed me, his eyes tired and flustered. He whispered, "Lisa, I really regret it. You can come back. I truly love you. I've been thinking about you so much I can't sleep. I regret everything. Please come back." Chapter 23. I looked at him with a kind, yet detached expression. Gabriel wasn't just shallow and despicable beneath his polished surface. He was absurdly self-important, and I truly found it baffling. At 24, I fell hopelessly in love with him and married him. At 31, I stayed in the marriage for the sake of money and quietly planned my path. At 36, because the money was enough, I chose to leave. I've always had the courage to own my bets, and the strength to walk away from it all. Every decision I made wasn't to make him regret it. They were all for one reason, so I would never regret it. Why would his regret hold any power over me? I smirked slightly and asked, Gabriel, do you really think you're worth my effort? He stared at me in disbelief. Just then, Camila's Panamera pulled up with a low engine purr. I continued, the me of today won't think of you, and even if I do, I'll just see you as a passerby. I was no longer afraid of seeing Gabriel's disgusted face. No longer afraid of crying at midnight over a man who never loved me. While he stood there stunned, I quickly got into the car. With a sharp roar of the engine, I sped down the road like I was flying away from it all. 2 years after my master's degree, I began preparing to open the auction house in Hong Kong when I ran into Gabriel again. He was no longer that elegant and refined man, but someone visibly worn down by time. The company had slowly recovered under his exhausting effort, but the pressure of walking on eggshells every day had stripped him of his grace. His back was slightly hunched, and the once carefully maintained body had slackened. He had become just another unremarkable 40-year-old man in the crowd. For someone once so proud, dazzling, and unattainable like Gabriel, fading into ordinariness was probably the harshest punishment of all. Looking back, I felt no love, no hate, no regret. I nodded to him calmly. His gaze flickered with surprise, joy, and shame. Before he could speak, I offered a polite smile, then drove away. Now, all I want, plain and simple, is for the company to be managed well, so Oscar won't inherit a mess.